want to touch on finally, Rob, the tennis. Obviously, Wimbledon coming up next week. The sort of Champagne Tennis Grand Slam of the year and the warm-up tournament, the Queens, won by Andy Murray, playing against Kevin Anderson, a South African who made the final.
Yeah, that was a really nice surprise. Kevin Anderson, as we know, is I suppose calling him a journeyman would be a little bit disrespectful, because he tends to be reasonably competitive, but we also know that he's not in the sort of the top tier of the sort of the well-established men's superstars, if you like, on the tennis circuit. So it was a really courageous and commendable effort for him to actually get to the final. It was his first major sort of grass final, I believe. So look, he's a 29-year-old, so not a spring chicken, but he's gathered a lot of experience over the years. He's played a lot of these top campaigners over and over again. Presumably learns lessons as he loses to clearly superior players. I thought he might have a little bit of a puncher's chance in the final, given that Murray had a spillover semi-final that still had to be played on match day. I think he got a 2-hour break ahead of the final, so that he wouldn't be too sort of hampered. But then again, you've got to say that even if you say that he had sort of 4 sets, because he won in straight sets in that semi anyway, and then of course he beat Anderson in straight sets. So even if you sort of took it as sort of 4 sets, that's not an extreme amount of tennis to play in one day. At Wimbledon, you might do that on any given day, when you're playing best of 5 sets. Anderson, his big serve was massive for him in the semi. It looked as though it was actually going to be a bit of a factor again in the final. Unfortunately, a big serve alone, a little bit like the Stormers scrum, isn't a necessary guarantee of success. And his sort of, at sort of closer quarters, up at the net, etc. He's a big fella. He's about 2 meters, isn't he? So it's difficult for him to sort of, to get around a bit. But he plays to his strengths, and I think we've got to give him a lot of credit for just getting to the final. That's Murray's 4th Queens, and sets him in pretty good mental stead for Wimbledon. I think we can all look forward to Wimbledon. I think we could get a really good fortnight. But hats off to Kevin Anderson, a nice little feather in his cap just to get to the final of Queens, which is still a prestigious tournament on the English roster.
Do you think he has a Grand Slam on the horizon, Anderson, at all?
I would be thinking against that now. I think it's as I say, he's not that far off the 30-year age mark. It's unlikely, but this would have been a reasonable little confidence booster for him. So with that big service game, I think he's capable of a sort of a tornado match every now and then. But to go all the way through in a slam tournament with that as your primary weapon, I'm not certain if he would be able to go all the way. No.